Okay, good morning, everyone. Morning, Si, morning, David. Morning, everybody in the chat. Thanks for bearing with us. Just had to give it a couple of minutes to allow everybody to join. My name's Harry Drewett. I'm a solutions engineer here at Purdicom, and today we're doing a quick webinar on Cambium Networks and an intro into ePMP. If you could all let me know if you can hear me okay, and if you can see the screen, that'd be brilliant. Just pop that in the chat and we'll move forward. Okay, everything looks pretty good. So I will move on. So obviously today's webinar is about Cambium Networks and ePMP. Purdicom and Cambium, we've got a long and prosperous relationship. Purdicom is the sole master distributor for CM Pilot and ePMP in the UK. We're a very long established partner with Cambium, and we've been partnered with the company since pre-Motorola. Our relationship is very close and long-standing. A couple of the guys from Cambium UK are on the panel today. You'll be helping me out with questions. At Purdicom, we offer some accredited training on Cambium, where all our trainers are Cambium certified. You get a free NFR kit when you sign up to one of our courses, and you receive a completion certificate. And as our master distributor, we also offer some exclusive offers, including a 3-month money-back guarantee, a 5-year warranty, and some extended credit terms. Okay. A bit of history on Cambium. They're a leader in the wireless solutions in designing and manufacturing fixed wireless broadband, point-to-point, point-to-multipoint, and enterprise Wi-Fi. Cambium are wireless experts. They've been leading wireless innovation since '99. It's a long time. They specialize in scalable networks. So you can scale a network from a handful of subscribers to thousands of connected residences and businesses using their platforms. The products are very flexible. There's a Wi-Fi option in CM Pilot, point-to-point, point-to-multipoint, or ePMP. And there's also switching and LTE options. There's powerful management with Cambium. There's a single pane of glass management for control and visibility of your network called CM Maestro. We're going to have a quick look at that later on today. And Cambium offer unrivaled performance. They have proven performance and reliability over the long term, which helps reduce your maintenance cost and deliver a low TCO. So let's just have a quick look at the portfolio today. So on the left here, we have CM Pilot, which is Cambium's Wi-Fi solution. We previously had a webinar on this, which is available for download on our blog. If you are interested in that, please let me know, and we can get that emailed over to you. There is the point-to-point, point-to-multipoint portfolio. It's an outdoor connectivity solution for your high-performance wireless broadband and critical networks. Really Cambium's bread and butter. There's CM Matrix, which is Cambium's enterprise-grade network switching to simplify network deployment and operation. CM Maestro, which is the single pane of glass management platform. It allows you to view your entire Cambium network for simple management and troubleshooting, available in the cloud or on premises. There's CM Vision, which is often used alongside ePMP. It's a close cousin to ePMP technology, but it's designed specifically for the CCTV market. That's a new addition to the family as of this year. And then obviously what we're talking about today, ePMP. ePMP is a new standard in wireless broadband. It's Cambium's outdoor broadband solution, and it's designed to connect people no matter the distance. It's tolerant of interference, and it provides industry-leading throughput for high-performing broadband in rural areas. So let's have a look at some of the verticals that ePMP delivers in. So ePMP will deliver critical features that service providers, WISPs, enterprises, and all your customers demand in order to keep up with today's networks. So we see a lot of business with the wireless internet service provider, outdoor deployments such as, I don't know, holiday parks, UK hospitality, service providers, and a lot of CCTV as well. Although moving forward, I think a lot of the ePMP business may be going towards CN Vision, which is the designed primarily for the Wi-Fi, CCTV deployments interact with your MVRs and CCTV cameras. Some more on the verticals here. We use ePMP for outdoor caravan camping sites, holiday parks, log cabins, and guest accommodation. It really works very well in these sort of deployments where you need to connect up a fair amount of caravans, lodges, for example, and you don't have the infrastructure to put cabling in. Obviously, it specializes in being interference tolerant as well. So if there is a bit of noise in the area, we can usually find a good channel to operate on in a noisy environment. And like I said, for large scale deployments, there is the ePMP 3000, which has multi-user MIMO. It's good for where capacity is priority, where you've got a lot of devices connected to the internet at the same time. And again, ePMP can be used alongside the entire portfolio, CM Matrix, switching, CM Pilot Wi-Fi, and managed from CM Maestro, the free single pane of glass management system. And it's easy to set up, troubleshoot, and monitor. Just a little bit more on the verticals. We've recently run a campaign here at Purdicom, and 90% of the respondents to the recent cabin bookers survey said they were taking a UK holiday this year. So the case for providing reliable Wi-Fi in this market has never been so important. We will provide ePMP into many of the UK's leading holiday parks. If you would like a copy of the infographic, please comment in the panel and we can send this directly to you, and we can also co-brand it for you as well. If you'd like to see any case studies around how successful ePMP has been for some of our partners, please just drop us a line and we can get that sent to you. Okay, so a little bit of an overview on ePMP. So ePMP is now in its third generation. So what does that mean? The core product set consists of the ePMP 3000, which is your base station or access point. It supports 4x4 multi-user MIMO, so it can effectively double your throughput by serving 2 subscribers at once. There is the ePMP 3000 Lite. You need to change that on the slide. It's a 2x2 version of the ePMP 3000. As a connectorized access point, it supports a variety of deployments with interference mitigation. And then on the subscriber side, we have the Force 300 range. On this slide, we've got the Force 316, which we see typically deployed in a lot of deployments as a mid-gain subscriber. However, there are some more subscribers in the range. So there's the Force 325, which is a 25 dBi long-range subscriber module, and it improves the throughput in a high-noise environment. There's the Force 313, which is a 13 dBi subscriber module, and primarily that's for use in a small to medium distance deployment. And there's also a Force 319, which is a 19 dBi flat panel subscriber module, and it's for use in sort of medium to high distance deployments. And there's also a 19R, which is a ruggedized version of that subscriber module, and it's IP67 rated for those environments where there's harsh weather conditions. Also, it's worth noting that the Force 300s can all be used as point-to-point links as well as being subscriber modules for an ePMP 3000. So ePMP isn't just a point-to-multipoint system. If you need to have a quick wireless link between, say, 2 buildings, a Force 300 is perfect to just link the 2. A little bit more info on the ePMP 3000. So the ePMP 3000, it adds to the power of the 2000 series, which we'll come on to shortly, as it utilizes an 802.11ac technology. That features an 80 megahertz channel width option, 256 QAM modulation, which improves the throughput on a given channel width. ePMP 3000 also supports features such as GPS sync, intelligent filtering, and smart beamforming. It also supports up to 120 subscribers per sector. And we'll come on to the features of ePMP a little bit later. This is the second gen of ePMP products. So this is the 2000 range. In the middle here, we have the ePMP 2000. delivers up to 200 megabits of real user throughput, and it really has set the standard for high performance, scalability and reliability. The ePMP 2000 is based on 802.11n technology, and again has the GPS sync, intelligent filtering and smart beamforming technology, supporting up to 120 subscribers per sector. On the subscriber module front, it's very similar, but the naming convention is slightly different with the second gen. So on the left here, we have the Force 180. The Force 180 is very, very popular radio. I see we've got thousands of them deployed in the UK. It's a 16 dBi subscriber. It's mid-range and it's perfect for high noise environments. On the right-hand side, we have the 200, which is a 25 dBi dish subscriber module, perfect for long-range deployments. And then in the middle, we have the 190, which isn't on this screen. But again, it's another dish subscriber module, but it's slightly smaller than the Force 200. It's got slightly less gain, but it's an efficiently packaged subscriber module. It packs down into 4 sections, so they're very easy to stock and deploy quickly. So if everyone's ready, we'll move on to some key features. So really there's 6 key features of ePMP. The first one is smart beamforming. There's multi-user MIMO on the 3rd gen ePMP, intelligent filtering, frequency reuse, GPS synchronisation and airtime fairness. And all these features combined really increase the performance of your network, your wireless network. So let's have a look at smart beamforming. So smart beamforming, it was introduced with the ePMP 2000, and it works in an uplink direction from your subscriber back to your base station or access point. And the smart beamforming is done by a separate beamforming antenna, so it's not done by the main sector antenna. It is a separate antenna that is used for uplink transmission from the SM only. And really the idea of the smart beamforming is to limit the noise and interference an access point can hear in uplink transmission. For example, if you're using the 90-degree sector antenna for both your downlink and uplink, it doesn't really matter to a degree if there's noise elsewhere in the sector in the downlink, because the subscriber module is only going to be listening in the beam width of the subscriber modules. For example, if you have a Force 180, the beam width is 16 degrees. So providing the interferer isn't in that beam width, the downlink transmission is not really going to be affected. But however, in the uplink, the access point will be listening in a 90-degree sector. So if there is an interferer that is off axis of the subscriber module, so it's not necessarily being impacted in the downlink, the access point will be impacted in the uplink. So this is really where the smart beamforming antenna comes in. The smart beamforming antenna, it's designed to essentially create a point-to-point like beam between your subscriber module and your access point, and it limits the sector down to about 10 degrees. So if you do have an off-axis interferer, then it's going to be less impacting on that uplink transmission. And having less interference on your uplink transmission means less collisions. You can modulate at a higher modulation level and have better throughput in your uplink. And again, better throughput in your uplink improves your entire network performance and allows you a faster, more reliable connection. Multi-user MIMO. So multi-user MIMO was introduced on the ePMP 3000 on the 4x4 access point. It's used to essentially transmit to 2 subscribers at once in the downlink, which then doubles your throughput in your downlink. Multi-user MIMO works by separating point-to-multipoint subscribers into groups. It uses a sounding frame sent out by the access point, And then a grouping algorithm uses feedback from the SMs to group them accordingly. The AP will then compute the necessary phase offset for the signal for each data stream to each subscriber in the group, and then it will simultaneously transmit data streams to those SMs in the group. As the Force 300 SMs are 2x2 radios and the ePMP 3000 is a 4x4 access point, effectively you can transmit to 2 subscribers at the same time, which is where your double sector throughput in the downlink comes from. I've had a question from Al. Does multi-user MIMO increase potential data throughput and capacity using this method? Absolutely, yes, it does. One thing to note, multi-user MIMO is limited to the downlink direction only, and that's described by the 802.11ac standard. So, intelligent filtering. ePMP uses dynamic filtering to block out almost all interference from adjacent channels, so the channel next door to the operating channel you're working on. It effectively works as a static filter to block out noise from outside the radio. Most filters are fixed, so as the ePMP 2000, 3000 works from 5.1 to 5.9 gigahertz, a traditional filter design would have to accept signals from across that frequency range. Intelligent filtering is a dynamic software controlled filter that effectively wraps around the channel that's in use and blocks out unwanted signals from adjacent channels. Intelligent filtering is applied in both receive and transmit directions on the ePMP access points, and it improves the network performance by limiting the amount of noise that you hear and tries to avoid collisions where possible. And that also, it's not just affecting your network, it'll affect other networks using the 5 gigahertz frequency. GPS sync. So this is a big one with ePMP. All ePMP access points, so the 2000, the 3000, the 3000L, they have an input for a GPS module. And the little GPS radio will sit in the top of your sector antenna, and it plugs into the bottom of the access point. And that GPS module is used to track GPS satellites in the global positioning system. And it determines a stable timing source for the AP. And what that timing source is used for, it's to precisely synchronize the start of every transmit and receive cycle within the TDD framing structure that is used in the ePMP solution. So the send and the receive is synchronized between all access points and subscribers in the deployment. It helps keep network performance high when more subscriber modules are added. And GPS sync is important because it enables the next slide, which is frequency reuse. As we know, 5 gigahertz is quite a congested spectrum. It's unlicensed to a degree. Obviously, there's 5.8, which is a light licensed in the UK. But there really is a limited amount of spectrum. And due to it being unlicensed, this spectrum can be quite congested. So if we can reuse frequencies where possible, it's going to really benefit your network, as you can use maybe a wider channel width if you reuse the same frequency. Using GPS sync to synchronize the transmit and receive cycles of access points and subscribers in your deployment, it means that all devices are transmitting and receiving at the same time. So you don't get 2 devices on the same frequency that are both transmitting at the same time, causing collisions and self-interference. So having the transmit and receive cycles synchronized means the devices all transmit at the same time and they all receive at the same time, which means that you don't get the self-interference from your own network, and you can effectively cover a really large area with just 2 frequencies. And again, with the limited spectrum that we have available in 5 gig, if we have 2 frequencies on, say, a wider channel width to get more capacity through it, rather than using 4 separate frequencies on a narrower channel width, it really enables you to increase the performance of the network whilst being conscious of the limited frequency we have available. Finally, we have airtime fairness. So the Cambium ePMP range uses an algorithm to ensure that one subscriber module doesn't take up the entire frequency. It also ensures each subscriber has priority-based air fairness, and it allows, it improves the quality and the capability of your network. For example, say you've got 3 subscriber modules, 3 customers, and they all decide to download their favorite film at the same time. Without airtime fairness enabled, the AP will take longer to transmit data to subscribers that are further away or they're operating on a lower modulation scheme. And that means the subscriber module that is closer to your access point is being treated unfairly or starved for resources. When airtime fairness is enabled, the access point will give equal time to all subscribers. So therefore, all 3 subscribers will equally share the download time. And those that are closer or on a higher modulation will download the movie faster than those that are farther away. So essentially, it's airtime fairness is used to allow your whole network to operate at the most optimum rate without a bad subscriber bringing down the capacity and the performance for the rest of the sector. I've had a question from Brendan. Where do you enable airtime fairness? I believe airtime fairness is enabled by default on ePMP, but I can check that. So the next section of the webinar is a bit of a demo. Does anyone have any questions before we go into that regarding what we've just talked about? It doesn't look like it, so let's move on with the demo. So I'm just going to share my other screen. So if you could let me know when you can see that, that would be brilliant. Cool, so you should see my web browser. Brilliant, okay. So I've got 2 ePMP Force 180 radios in our office. It is going over a VPN, so I apologize if it is a little bit slow. But I was just going to show you how simple it is to set one of these devices up. Do you need me to zoom in at all? I'm conscious it might be a little bit small. Just let me know if that's better. Brilliant, cool. So you log into a Force 180 or an ePMP radio. The first screen you're greeted with is the home screen. And on the home screen, you've got all your metrics, so your device name, SSID, what frequency you're on, channel bandwidth, the MAC address, the IP address. I just had a message saying Stevie Wonder can see this. Well, that is great. Thank you. Much appreciated. So let's quickly just take a look at Quick Start. So you want to link up 2 devices, head on to the Quick Start page. I'm on my Force 180 access point. First, you select your radio mode. So access point is going to be master. Select that. You have your driver mode, TDD, which is time division duplex. This would be used if you're doing a point-to-point or a point-to-multipoint. There's standard Wi-Fi, which is if you want to use this as a Wi-Fi access point. There's ePTP, which is another point-to-point mode that is available on the ePMP 2000 series at the moment. Essentially, this mode, it decreases the latency quite a lot, so it can be used for low latency applications. And then there's TDD PTP, which is the same as time division duplexing, but you're only going to have a single subscriber module. So I'm going to leave this just on TDD at the moment. You set your country. So this is a UK radio, or it's an ETSI radio, which I've applied a UK country code to. You set your maximum range. It's quite small. It's obviously set up in my office, so I've set that to 1 mile. And then we have a couple of options for channel selection. So you can set it manually. So you can see that I've got this set on 5500 megahertz, or you can enable automatic channel selection. And what that's going to do is when the device is booted up, it's going to do a channel scan throughout the entire spectrum, and it's going to work out the most optimum frequency to use. The ePMP radios connect using an SSID and a passphrase. So you need to define your SSID here. I've got Force 180 PTP because that's what it is. I've got my device name, and then your downlink uplink ratio. So there are 4 options. There's 75-25, 50-50, 30-70, and flexible. Flexible is the device is going to take as much time as it needs to transmit or receive the data. 50-50 means half of the air time is used for transmit, half of it's used for receive. And 75-25 and 70-30 are pretty self-explanatory. You can change the IP assignment from static to DHCP. This is on a static address. And then on the right-hand side here, this is where you define your pre-shared key. So there's my demo 180 link key. So once you've got all this set up, it's a question of saving at the top right. And I'll just come over to my subscriber module here, which is another Force 180 device that I've got in the office. And if we come over to quick start, it's a little bit different on the subscriber module. You can see the radio mode is a subscriber. Again, the driver mode is the same as the access point, TDD. As the device is a subscriber or a slave, it's going to follow the country code that the AP has set. You can name your device. There's network mode. So on the subscribers, this is just, I have it set up as a bridge. So it's going to bridge the data from the local end to the remote end. There is NAT mode for if you're doing any routing, or there is a router mode, which allows you to have a DHCP server underneath the subscriber, perfect for a wireless ISP. Again, IP assignment is static or DHCP. On the top right is where you enter your WPA2 pre-shared key to link up. You just pop that in there. You can also use radius, and you would enter your ePTTLS username and password, authentication string, and identity realm. I don't see that used too much. A lot of the deployments are just WPA2 based. There is an open option. I wouldn't recommend using that. And if you have, let's say, a subscriber that can see multiple APs, you can add preferred APs to this list. So it's all done on SSID. So I would copy my SSID from my master, which is here, pop it in here, change my security, and then pop in your passphrase just here. So if you had maybe 2 access points that the subscriber could see, you could have them in the preferred list. So if one of them did go offline, your subscriber can then connect up to another access point as a method of backup. So now we'll come down to subscriber module scanning. So this is where you're going to scan the frequencies that you're going to be using for operation. Out of the box, it's set to scan all 40 megahertz channels in the 5 gig bands and all the 20 megahertz. You can unselect them all, can select certain operating frequencies if you're just going to be maybe using a single frequency or 3 frequencies, or you can leave blank and the subscriber module is going to scan throughout the entire frequency band until it finds the operating frequency that your access point is using, which in this case is 5500 megahertz. And then once you've got that set up with your channel bandwidth, it's a question of saving at the top. And once the config is saved, the radio, depending if you're in a DFS region or not, it's going to do a channel selection, channel search. And it will scan to see if there's any radar on the operating frequency. And if there isn't, then it's going to join up and the link will be up. So as you can see from the home page on my subscriber here, my link is up, wireless status is up, my quality is 94% and my capacity is 60%. And that's because I'm not operating on the highest modulation scheme here. So I'm on MCS 13 instead of MCS 15. That's likely because I'm pretty sure this radio is just in a cabinet in the office. So it's not ideal in terms of RF, but for the purposes of a demo, you can see it's linked up. And there's actually nothing plugged into this radio either, so my Ethernet port is down. Whereas on my master, you can see my Ethernet status is 1000 megabit. So let's just have a quick look at some of the pages that can help when troubleshooting. So the monitor tab is where all your troubleshooting is really going to be done. Performance. So the performance is exactly that. It shows you how many packets have been sent or dropped, retransmitted, for example, for both the downlink and the uplink. It gives you system statistics. You can see I've been messing about with this AP a bit, so it's been rebooted 26 times by a hard reboot, so that's power disconnected, and a soft reboot is rebooting from the software GUI at the top there. There's a metric for radar detections if you're in a DFS region, and if you see that in double figures, I'd suggest doing a spectrum scan using a different frequency for operation. There's some more statistics here on the access point page. So it's going to give you a little bit of statistics of the subscriber, how many packets have been sent and received, how many have been retransmitted, and the power that you're operating at. And then you have the downlink packets per modulation scheme. Ideally, you want to be at the top modulation scheme to have the best performance. But if you are in an environment where you're having issues with the radio, this is a really good indicator of what's going on. So it gives you an idea if the RF is the problem or if it could be something else causing the issue. As you can see at the bottom here, 32% of packets on this radio have been sending at the lowest modulation scheme. And that, again, is because it's not deployed in the field. It's just in the office set up, not in an ideal way. The system tab gives you everything you would really expect. You've got your serial number, you've got your software version, whether you've got NTP enabled, your date and time, MAC address, wireless MAC address, Ethernet MAC address, your read-only users, write users, and if you are connected to the cloud, which I am, so this is connected to our CN Maestro, which I'll show you in a minute. The wireless tab, this is going to show you how many subscriber modules you've got connected and a brief overview of the stats. So as you can see, I've got my Force 180 SM connected here. The session's been 18 hours. And it gives you a few metrics on the quality and the capacity of the radio at the moment. Shows you SNR, so my SNR is 36 dB, which is pretty good. And it shows you the received signal strength as well, which is minus 59 dBm at the moment. On the master side as well, it gives you the IP address, so you can click on it and it'll open up a new tab on your subscriber. So that's pretty handy. Coming down to the throughput chart, it's giving you an average wireless throughput over seconds, minutes, or hours. So this is going back to about 10 minutes. The time on this is wrong, it's out by an hour. But you can set it to minutes. So it shows you half an hour intervals and any spikes in performance, and then hours. And again, it's going to show you your average throughput over time. Then there's the network tab, shows you the ARP table, the bridge table of the MAC addresses connected to the radio. and then the system log. To enable, as you can see, I haven't had any system events because this link was booted up yesterday and it's been in service without any issue. And then finally, we have the Tools tab. So the Tools tab is where you perform the software upgrade, you back up and restore your config. If you've got a device, say it's an Etsy radio and you want to deploy it in a different country in the Etsy region, you would need a local license key, and you can generate these on Cambium's support website. So you can see this radio, I've got a GB country code on it, and that allows me to use the 5.8 gigahertz frequencies with DFS enabled. So that it just uses the MAC address here of the Ethernet interface. You paste it into Cambium's license key generator, and they generate you a local license key for the radio. And then it unlocks the frequencies and transmit powers that you can use for your local region. There's eDetect. eDetect is very good at showing you any potential interferers. So I'm just going to run this now. And as you can see on this frequency, I've got one interferer, and that is likely going to be my subscriber module, which it is. So that's showing me that the interferer is my other radio, but it's not going to show any others because there aren't any other interferers on this frequency. But if there were, there would be come up with the MAC address and the SSID and the rate that is seeing, so the signal strength and the modulation scheme that the interferer is using. We have a spectrum analyzer. So on the 2000 range, this is one to be aware of. If you are to use the spectrum analyzer, you first need to set the radio to be spectrum analyzer mode. So you set it here, save and reboot, and then it will download a Java application to your laptop, and then you can use the radio in spectrum analyzer mode. On the 3000 series, the spectrum analyzer is built in to the standard operating mode. So you'd come down to monitor and then, tools, spectrum analyzer, and then you can run the spectrum analyzer in the normal operating mode, and it will show you any interference on the frequency band. There's ACS. So if you are using automatic channel selection, you can enable it, and whilst the device is running, you can set it to run again, and it's going to select another operating frequency to operate on. There's the link test. So this is really helpful. I just run my link test to my subscriber. It's a UDP test, and it essentially shows you the downlink and uplink throughput over the air to your device. So I'll run that. So I'm getting about 100 meg each way, aggregate 192. So not too bad. Obviously TCP throughput will be a bit less because there's more overhead on TCP, but this can be a good indication. If you are having issues with the deployment, you can run a link test and see, oh, this is what I can do over the air. So maybe my throughput issue is network side, for example, switching or the router. And finally, there's just a little bit of troubleshooting. So you can do a ping test, IP4 or IP6, to an FQDN or an IPv4 address or a host name, send the number of packets, the buffer size, and the time to live. And you can also do a trace route, or all your sort of expected troubleshooting tools. So that's really about it in terms of what you can do on the GUI. What I'll do now is I'll pop over to CN Maestro. This is our Purdicom CN Maestro. And you can see I've got the Force 180s in our tech area network. And it's just gives you a little bit of an overview as to how the devices are performing. So on the dashboard, you've got online status, how many SMs you've got connected, your current throughput, details such as name and MAC address and IP address, and radio details, what frequency you're running on, channel width, SSID, for example. There's notifications, show you any open alarms. So you can see I've had device offline events when I've been plugging in and unplugging a device, and then events as well, which show you if you've had stations joining or leaving. I've had a couple of questions on the chat. Can the devices be added directly from CM Maestro as one does with CM Pilot? Yes, but there is another step for the ePMP unit. So I'll show you briefly. When you onboard a ePMP radio to CM Maestro, you first need to put the serial number in as you would a CM Pilot access point. But you also need to come over to the claim from device, and you'll need to create an onboarding key if you don't have one already for your user. So once you've got that key created, you come onto your Force 180 or your ePMP radio, come to configuration and then system, and then you would paste your Cambium ID and your onboarding key in here. And then providing the radio can talk out to the internet, it can resolve the cloud.cambiumnetworks.com address. The radio will then show up in your onboarding queue, and then you would just approve it on the right-hand side here. So it is a little bit more involved than adding a CM Pilot AP, but that is how you onboard one into your network on CM Maestro. I've had another question from Mike, VLAN support. Yep, so the ePMP radios do support VLANs. I'll just show you where to configure that. It's in configuration and network. On the right hand side here, you have a management VLAN option. You can enable it and then set a priority on it there. And I'll just show you the same in the subscriber as well. And on the subscriber, you can also set data VLAN. So if you've got multiple data VLANs, you enable your management VLAN. You can set the management VLAN access to be wireless and Ethernet. And then your data VLAN as well in here. And you can also VLAN map as well. So if you're doing Q&Q, you can have customer VLANs and service provider VLANs here. No problem. So quickly moving back to CM Maestro, I'll just zoom that in a bit. So CM Maestro is great for just having an overview of your wireless network. So it's worth bearing in mind the configuration on ePMP is done mostly in the GUI. However, if you're deploying a lot of devices, how I would usually do it is I'd onboard all the devices onto CM Maestro, configure one, and then you can take a config backup, save it as a template in CM Maestro, and then you can essentially set that out to the rest of the devices in your CM Maestro. So then it can be a little bit quicker than having to individually configure each radio. So I do like to do that a fair bit when I'm deploying a lot. And that is just done in the configuration tab of your CM Maestro when you're on your access point or subscriber. You view the configuration using this, and it's in JSON format. You can either download it and edit it in a text editor, or you can save it directly as a template. I'll just save that as demo template. And then if you went to deploy that on another radio, it's the same thing. You come to your device in the tree, you come over to configuration tab, and then you just select it from the drop down here. It won't let me select it because that's an SM, but you get the idea. Select it from here, demo template, and then hit apply, and it will just download it from the cloud and set the new settings on the radio. So there's a couple more tabs. There's Details tab, which again is a little bit more in depth of the details of the radio. It's essentially just the monitor system page and the home page on your local GUI. There's a Performance tab, which gives you a few graphs on throughput, any retransmissions, how many subscribed modules you got registered, and the CPU status. There's also frame utilization here, and you can select however many you want displayed on the page, and that goes back 1 week. So if you were tracking an issue over the period of a week, you can have this all on a graph, and you can export it as well. There's a software update tab, always useful if you've got a large deployment. You can come into CM Maestro and you can select the AP or devices underneath the AP, so the subscriber from here, and you can set it to also upgrade the subscriber first and then the AP second, or vice versa. I would always do that first, subscriber first, and then you send out the job to both devices from the cloud, which is, yeah, really easy. There's also the map view. So if you have the devices, you put in the GPS coordinates of where they are, you can set them on the map. As you can see, I don't have a map on here at the moment. Zoomed in a bit too far, but you can set the location of where your subscribers are or your access points are. And then finally, you have the Tools tab. The status gives you the main device. If I went onto the subscriber, it would show you what it's connected to. So you can see it's connected to the master here. There's this button, really helpful, downloads a tech support file. So if you've ever got a problem with one of the units, send it through and we'll take a look. Really helpful in determining if there's any problems. There's a debug tab where you can perform debug logging. Network connectivity tab, again, it's ping, traceroute, or DNS lookup. There's a link test, which we talked about on the GUI of the radio, and then your eDetect. So essentially, you've got all the same troubleshooting steps as you would have in the local GUI of the radio, but in your single pane of glass management system, accessible in the cloud from anywhere. So you don't have to be local to the radio to do any troubleshooting, which is always really helpful. I've just got a question from Brendan. Where in CM Maestro can you download the config of an AP? So you can grab that from the configuration tab. So I'll go through from the start. You come over to Monitor Network from your homepage. You select your device in the tree. You come over to Configuration at the top. And then it's under the device configuration section. Click View. And it will populate, and then you'll be able to download it using the button here. There we go. So yeah, JSON format, download. That's going to download it to your screen, to your computer, where you can edit it, or you can, again, save it as a template, as we talked about. I've just had another question from Al. Is CM Maestro a standalone application? So it is cloud-based, but you can also install it on premises as well. No problem. So that about does it for the demo. Let me just come back over to my slide. So just a little bit more to go through. I've just had another question from Brendan. If the device is online, will the config download still work? No, it won't. So the device will need to be online in the cloud to download the config. And I've just had another question from Mikhail. I mentioned CM Vision in the beginning. What features make it more suitable for CCTV than ePMP 3000? So CM Vision, just briefly, CM Vision is interoperable with OnVIF cameras. So you can actually see your camera output in the GUI of the radio. So it's really helpful for when you're deploying radio, like wireless network CCTV cameras. So you can see, rather than having to go back to the NVR, you can see the camera connected in the GUI of the radio, and it allows you to show it and make any alignment adjustments to your camera, for example, in the actual GUI of the radio. Another question from Brendan, can that be added if a radio is broken, there's no way to get a working config? I'm not sure it can be added, but I will double check and get back to you if that's all right. And another question from Al, can you manage out of band? Yes, you can via the use of a management VLAN. And a question from Lee, what was the thing where you copy MAC address and paste somewhere for the country specific unlocking? Okay, so let me just share my screen again quickly. Come back over to here. So Lee, to answer your question, it is in the Tools tab, License Management. So you copy the MAC address of the master radio, you go to Cambium Support's website and go to License Keys, paste in the MAC address, select your country code. So this one is a GB, and then click Generate, and it will give you a local license key, which you can then paste back into your radio in this same page, and it then will unlock the higher frequencies and higher transmit power for your region. Hopefully I've answered everyone's question. So I'm just gonna come back to the slide as I'm conscious we're running out of time a little bit here. So why choose Purdicom? Here's how we can help. We can do wireless link planning for you, site planning. We can pre-stage radios. You purchase radios and you know what the config you want on them, and you just want to go and install them. We can do that for you. We can commission networks for you. We can perform line of sight surveys. We've got technical demos and support. Just give us a call. We can help. There's a couple of exclusive bundles we're offering on the 2000 series and the 3000 series at the moment. These are on screen now. So there's a 2000 bundle and a 3000 bundle. If you are interested in these, please contact your account manager. Say I sent you. And then just the last slide. What's coming up? So watch out for upcoming events. We've got one for CM Vision where we'll go into that product set a little bit more. We're going to have a webinar for the new Wi-Fi 6 CM Pilot APs, and another one for new product releases such as CM Wave. The dates are to follow, but you can keep an eye on our events and webinars on our website, and we'll share the link in the follow-up so you can bookmark that page. Just wanted to say thank you all for watching. I think we finished on time. If you've got any questions or would like to find out anything else, please just shoot us an email or give us a call on our office number there. And I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day, and everyone take care.